After a Union victory in the Civil War, Reconstruction began an attempt to settle the issues over slavery and secession. Winston and Salem began to see these changes when Union cavalry chaplain announced the freedom of slaves in 1865, thus opening the doors for African American achievement in and around the town of Salem.
Religion was an important aspect of Moravian life. African Americans and Moravians originally worshipped side by side, but the African Americans soon came to be treated as second-class members of the church. They grew frustrated, and with about 50 other African Americans, they organized their own mission congregation in 1822 and built a simple log church that measured 32 by 28. The Female Missionary Society founded a Sunday school there in 1827. They taught African Americans to read and write even after 1831, when the state of North Carolina made teaching reading and writing to enslaved people illegal. For some time after the Civil War, the log church served as the Freedmen's Hospital. By 1861, the congregation had outgrown the log church, and a new, larger Greek revival-style backwood church with a bell tower, altar, and a pews was constructed. The church was called St. Philip's, and because the safe haven for these men and women to commune with one another to eventually practice literacy until the state law banning it.
Whoa. You need to go to the back of the church.
I'm just here to worship. I'm not trying to cause any problems.
Only first class is allowed in the front. You need to go to the back.
I could barely hear or see anything. I don't want to come to church every time we push to the back. I have an idea. I'll make a church where my people of color are treated like first-class members instead of second-class members.
The first school in Forsyth County for African Americans was built in 1867 on land that belonged to the Moravian Church. Ellis A. Vulgar, a leader in the Salem community, was instrumental in securing the selected land rent-free from the church. Located just south of Salem Creek and about a quarter of a mile away from African American Church, the school was open tuition-free to all African American children, not just to those from the Salem community. The former school ground is now part of Winston-Salem's Happy Hill Park. After 1865, emancipated African Americans began to work and earn money of their own. Many worked in tobacco factories. Soon they aspired to own their own property and homes. In 1870, Ellis A. Vulgar, a longtime supporter of the African American community, proposed building a neighborhood southeast of Salem, across Salem Creek, as a new settlement for African Americans. The area, named Liberia, became one of the first settlements in the South where freedmen could purchase land. The first lots in Liberia sold for $10 each. Today, the neighborhood is called Happy Hills Gardens.
Simon Green Atkins was fundamental to the educational advancement of African Americans in Winston. Atkins recognized the shortage in fair education for African American students and impressed upon the emerging Black community its responsibility to add to the moral and intellectual power of a race. The Depot Street School was the first Black school in Winston, opening in 1887. During his tenure as principal there, Atkins encouraged the Black community to take full advantage of gaining an education. He took this philosophy and founded several institutions for higher education, including the Slater Industrial Academy, today known as Winston-Salem State University.
In 1891, Atkins appeared before the Winston Board of Trade to ask for help in starting a Black college. Atkins transformed a lonesome hillside into a thriving African American community of painted houses and neat gardens. Its centerpiece was the school. Atkins funded to educate the thousands of Blacks who poured into town. Winston-Salem State University grew from this small school. Slater Industrial Academy, it was named after a white philanthropist from New York who donated money to the school. It could not have been opened in 1892 without the help of Henry E. Fries, William A. Blair, and other local white leaders who freely gave their time and money. Offering high school and industrial courses, the school started in a one-room frame building with 25 students and one teacher.
We are determined that every student who comes out with our stamp upon him shall bear the test and by all means add to the moral and intellectual power of the race.
In 1873, railroad construction from Greensboro to Winston led to population boom and introduction of the tobacco industry. The town of Winston, together with the coming of the railroad, transformed the area from domestic enterprise to industry and mass production. Slaves and free Blacks made up less than 14% of the population. and most were on farms where the county residents lived and worked. As these African Americans came for what became seasonal jobs, they settled in the north and eastern parts of the city, especially in the Depot Street area around the New Reynolds factories. By 1888, blacks and freedmen made up about 40% of the population.